Hey everybody, welcome to the Wombat Kitten Academy story number 8, Hummus Homes In. Hummus was not happy. He was not miserable because he had some humans to bother and faculty to guide and play with him, but he had no home. His siblings had all gone off to new homes, and he had used the kazoo network to check in with them. They had all reported that they had nice beds, plenty of toys, good food, and humans to snuggle with. Falafel even had little human sisters to grow up with. Hummus was happy for his siblings, but he wanted a home of his own. He wanted a human who did not have to divide their time amongst many cats and other animals, including humans, and someone who would adore him. He wanted someone who would love him. Hummus sat in front of the kazoo gnome, as it was known to the kittens, after a chat with his sister Tahini, and tried to be cheerful, but it was hard. Acro came up to Hummus, put a paw on his shoulder, and said, "Why so glum, Hummus?" Hummus did not want to sound ungrateful, but could not help blurting out, "No one loves me." "You are wrong, Hummus. Many cats and many humans love you. We have just not found one yet who is close enough and suitable to take you and give you the care you need, but it will happen." "Mr. A and DJ are not many humans, Headmaster," said Hummus. "I was not referring to them, Hummy. I was talking about all the people on the human kazoo network. It is called the discotheque, and many people there love you, but cannot take you because of many reasons, like the fact that they live too far away," sighed Acro. "Too far away?" asked Hummus. "Yes, there is even a crazy cat lady in Australia who talks about you all the time. She thinks you are funny and smart and a very talented snuggler. But Australia is too far away, so you will just have to wait till someone closer is approved to take you. It will not be too long, Hummus, and the faculty will take care of you in the meantime," said Acro, as he leaned down to lick Hummy's ears. "Thank you, Headmaster," said Hummus, cheered by the news that there were humans who wanted him. 2 days later, which seemed like years to Hummus, there was still no word of a Hummy human yet, so he sat down next to the kazoo gnome and tapped his personal pin into the communicator. He was still waiting for Custard to give him his implant, but he did not mind using a gnome line in the meantime. "Kazoo, it is me, Hummus. Are you busy, Kazoo?" "Hello, Hummy. Nice to hear from you. I was in the middle of a bath, but I think I can stop licking my leg for you. What is up, youngster?" "I still don't have an approved human, and I was wondering what you know about geography, Kazoo." "Interesting question, Hummus. I know enough to find my leg to lick, but what does geography have to do with humans?" "Acro tells me there are people far away who love me, but not anyone close. There is a lady in Australia who loves me, but I don't know how far away that is," explained Hummus. "I know the lady you speak of, Hummus. She is a fan of mine, so she obviously has excellent taste. I learnt from my Kittenpedia lessons that there are things called bodies of water, like human toilets but bigger. They are called ponds, lakes, rivers, and oceans. Your Australian friend lives on the other side of an ocean, so she is probably as far away as the other side of Fox Lake," Kazoo informed his friend. "That far, Kazoo?" said a dejected Hummus. "It is not quite that bad, Hummus," Kazoo assured him. "I crossed several of the Great Lakes, such as Fox Lake, on my way to Boston. In fact, Winnie and Gary live on the other side of Fox Lake, and you know their human visits the Academy regularly to take nerd lessons from Mr. A. Anyway, buck up, Hummus. You know the saying, good things come to those who wait. Complete balderdash. But sadly, you don't have a choice. I can help your search, though. I will send out an all kittens bulletin asking my network to find you a suitable human. Kittens know cat people when they see them, far better than humans do. You sit tight, have a few fights with Custaroo for me, and I will get on the job. If all else fails, I will contact the CIA. I try to avoid the Cat Intelligence Agency if I can, because they sometimes employ dog-like tactics, but I will not stint in finding you a home, young one." Hummus was cheered by his chat with Kazoo, but also inspired to take action. He would go to the other side of Fox Lake, to that place called Australia, to find his crazy cat lady. He chatted as casually as he could with the headmaster about the humans who talked to Mr. A about kittens until he could mention Australia. Acro talked about Am and Hadrian and Mez, but then he said, "And your big fan, Hummus, the lady called Wombat." "Wombat?" asked Hummus. "Yes, Wombat. I'm not sure why a wombat wants a kitten, but maybe they need a pet who is smaller than them. She lives in a burrow in Sydney, near many gum trees and some water." Hummus had all he needed. He had to go to the other side of the lake and find a wombat burrow near some gum trees. He was not sure what a burrow was, but thought he would know it when he saw it. That night he ate up big. So big, his belly nearly burst, and he did it again first thing in the morning. He did not know how far he would have to walk. Kittens measure distance by the number of times they have to stop for a bath, and he figured Australia could not be more than 20 baths away. He planned to be with his human in time for a big dinner and a snuggle before bed. Hummus knew the most difficult part of the journey was the first step. He was planning on taking that first step under Elsie's belly as she and Mr. A went out for their morning walk. He knew Elsie and Mr. A would not want to be away from the kittens too long, so would be focused on getting the walk over and done with and would not notice him. Before he left, Hummus went around and had a cuddle with all the faculty, making sure he did it at different times or in different rooms. The faculty were smarter than the humans, and they might figure out his plans if he was not careful. They would not all be gathered in the one place again until dinner time, so he assumed no one would notice his absence. The big moment came, and as Mr. A and Elsie wandered off to look for the squeaky toy Elsie had lost outside, Hummus stopped and wiped his paws on the mat, as it said to do, and wondered why you had to wipe your paws on the way out. His social duty done, Hummus headed off to the trees and his big adventure. Hummus was a little intimidated by the trees and by the creatures who lived in and around them, but reminded himself that he was a big kitten now, and that Wombat would want a brave kitten. He had figured out that his path to the lake would be simple to find because cats can smell things that no one other than dogs could smell. He was sniffing the air for damp smells. This was not quite the perfect plan he had expected, as after 3 baths he had found 2 wells and no lakes. But he was determined, and it was more fun looking for his human than waiting for her to come to him. After another bath, Hummus finally found himself looking out at enough water to fill many, many bathtubs. He was not sure, though, that he would want to have a bath in it. The water was a funny color, and he suspected that it was deeper than Mr. A's basin. He smelt the water and thought he would have to wait to have a drink when he got to Wombat's. He found himself some fresh grass to eat, stopped for a chat with a funny-looking reverse tuxedo cat who said his name was Skunk, and who gave him some directions to the other side of the lake. Luckily, the instructions were simple. Keep walking until the water stopped. After another 3 baths, including a very long one chewing mud out from between his toes, Hummus came to the end of the lake and to the back of a home. Right in the backyard was a dog's water bowl, and Hummus had the biggest drink of his life, followed by the fastest run of his life. A dachshund had come running from a dachshund had come running from inside the home to tell him to find his own water. As Hummus stopped to get his breath, he was startled to see his brother run by. "Baba, Baba, Baba!" he cried as he ran to catch up. When he caught up, he realized it was not his brother, but a possum. He apologized for his mistake and asked the creature if he knew of any wombats who lived in the area. "Wombats?" asked the possum. "Why would a polar bear like you want to find a wombat?" "I'm not a polar bear, I just look a bit like one." "Well, as I apparently look a bit like your brother, I will cut you some slack and tell you to go find the cats that live over there and ask them," the possum said, pointing down the meadow. Hummus set off across the meadow, but was starting to worry he would not find Wombat in time for dinner. So he sat down for a think. He was soon joined by a chipmunk. If he was bigger, he might have chased the chipmunk, but he was about the same size and he considered it better to make a new friend. The chipmunk introduced himself as Calvin and said his biggest thrill in life was other chipmunks mistaking him for his famous cousin. His biggest joy in life was teasing two cats called Winnie and Gary, and he was off to see them now. "Winnie and Gary!" squealed Hummus. Winnie was a legend at Kitten Academy, and Gary was much admired for his food-finding skills. "They will be able to help me," thought Hummus, "and I am sure Gary will have some kibble hidden somewhere." "Can I tag along?" Hummus asked Calvin. Calvin agreed as long as Hummus kept his distance at the window. He did not want the cats thinking he hung out with polar bears. Meanwhile, back at the academy, Custard had reported to Acro that Hummus was AWOL from his wrestling class, and Acro realized he had not seen the youngster since breakfast. He checked with all the faculty and realized the problem was serious. Acro, Eddie, and Ari met in front of the kazoo gnome and asked Logie and Custard to distract Mr. A at all costs. It was a task Acro could safely entrust to the junior members of staff. "I am concerned the boy has run off in search of a human," Acro told Eddie and Ari. "Let's see what Kazoo knows." Kazoo told them of Hummus's question about geography and his desire to reach Australia and his friend Wombat. I, of course, told him it was way over the other side of Fox Lake near Winnie and Gary's, said Kazoo authoritatively. Acro put his paw to his face and tried not to stumble. "Thanks, Kazoo. Could you let Winnie and Gary know that Hummus is probably in their direction, along with any other area kittens like Mr. Pickles? Let me know the moment you hear something." "On it," said Kazoo. Acro turned to Eddie and Ari and said, "Eddie, get on to Traffic Owl and ask the birds and squirrels to keep an eye out for him. We know which way he is heading now. Ari, see if Elsie can fake a need to pee and drag Mr. A out for a walk. It is a pity the man cannot row an actual boat instead of just that plank in the basement. We must keep this from him anyway. Ancient humans are liable to have a heart attack when they receive a shock." "Mr. A is not ancient, surely," said Ari. "He is twice the age of the oldest cat I know, Ari. If that is not ancient, I don't know what is. Anyway, this is on us. At least Kazoo tells us he has a lead on a suitable human, so if we can get him back safely, Hummus will be someone else's joy soon." Over on the other side of the lake, Calvin was playing with some nuts outside Winnie and Gary's window when the polar bear ran out and started tapping the window in some weird Arctic language. Hummus was so busy tapping out a message in Shaka Shaka to Winnie and Gary, he did not see Jimmy D arrive home with groceries. Jimmy swooped on Hummus before he even knew he was there. Jimmy was almost as rattled at seeing Hummus at his front window as the window was by the Shaka Shaka. "Hummus, what are you doing there? Does Mr. A know you are here? Of course he doesn't. What am I saying? Mr. A does not approve of unaccompanied student excursions. He will be tearing his hair out with worry." Hummus was horrified that he had gotten so close to Wombat only to be thwarted. He was somewhat distracted from his frustration by the discovery that Jimmy's mustache tasted of Lactaid and the sight of a Dreamies packet in the grocery bag. Jimmy brought the exhausted kitten inside and put him in front of his cats. "Winnie, keep an eye on him and give him something to eat. The poor kitten looks all in. I am going to call Mr. A." Winnie led Hummus to her food bowl as Gary's was empty. She told him that he was a very naughty kitten who had upset the faculty a great deal. She also told him Kazoo had found him a human, but she was not sure if the human had any idea of what they were letting themselves in for. "Is it Wombat?" asked Hummus. "No, Hummus. Wombat already has a crazy cat that does completely outlandish things, and it would just be plain unfair to ask the poor old lady to deal with too," said Winnie with a smile. "Don't worry though, Hummus. You will have all the love and snuggles you could ever need. Now eat up, because when Mr. A gets here, you're going to want to pretend to sleep in the most adorable way you can possibly manage." The end. Much love. Squeeze a kitten for me.